Practical Research 1, Learning from Others and Reviewing the Literature. Practical Research 1 develops critical thinking and problem-solving skills through qualitative research. A research paper basically has 5 parts, or chapters, in which Chapter 2 is the review of related literature. A literature review is a summary of studies related to a particular area of research. It identifies and summarizes all the relevant research conducted on a particular topic. The literature review surveys scholarly articles, books, and other sources relevant to a particular area of research. The review should enumerate, describe, summarize, objectively evaluate, and clarify this previous research. The literature review acknowledges the work of previous researchers and, in so doing, assures the reader that your work has been well conceived. It is assumed that by mentioning a previous work in the field of study that the author has read, evaluated, and assimilated that work into the work at hand. This lesson is about learning from others and reviewing the literature. It consists of the following lessons. Number 1, what is the literature review and why do I need such? Number 2, criteria in selecting, citing, and synthesizing related literature. Number 3, ethical standards in writing. For this moment or this lesson, I am expected for you to learn the following. Number 1, read and select relevant literature for a certain or given research paper that you have submitted as a proposal. Number 2, cite related literature using standard style. Number 3, synthesize information from relevant literature. Number 4, writes coherent review of literature. And number 5, follow ethical standards in writing related literature. Lesson number 1, the literature review. Literature is an oral or written record of man's significant experiences that are expressed in an ordinary manner. It is conveyed directly or indirectly. Direct expression is in books, journals, periodic papers, and online reading materials. Indirect expressions, however, are not written or spoken at all, but is mirror image of his environment. The review of related literature is one of the main components of a research study, specifically in the second chapter. It gives an overview of all the writings relative to a specific topic. Therefore, selecting the right sources for the literature review is very important in producing a quality research paper. In the previous lessons, you learned the importance of understanding the value of qualitative research, its kinds, characteristics, uses, strengths, weaknesses, specificity, and the feasibility of the study. A good introductory page is a baseline statement of what and how a paper should go fluidly. However, a review of related literature will strengthen your claims of a systematic, purposeful, and well-defined research paper. So in this part of our lesson, you will be exploring the process or reviewing related literatures. A review of related literature is the process of collecting, selecting, and reading books, journals, reports, abstracts, and other reference materials. The following information may be collected, like background knowledge about the problem and associated ideas, theories that give details of the presence of the problem and certain variables that is connected to the problem, data that prove the occurrence and gravity of the problem, detailed and broad results of related studies, gaps and recommendations for additional study specified in related studies. The significance and rationale of related literature and studies is to find out the similarities and differences between the past and present studies, just to get ideas into the critical and controversial aspects of the problem. It helps recognize and define a research problem. It gives the researcher a background analysis aspect which have been studied. It guides the researcher on what to do on the mechanism of the research method. This also provides the thoughts to advance with the study until its conclusion. It avoids redundant duplication of a study. Moreover, reading extensively will enrich your background knowledge on your research topic that will enable you to establish a good groundwork or course on your research endeavor. Lesson number 2. Criteria in selecting, citing, and synthesizing related literature. There are a lot of ways to bring in the flow of literature review that will help researchers develop their research. Frequently asked questions on how to proceed in the conduct of literature review includes: first, how to look for sources, how many sources should be cited, how to discuss ideas taken from the studies cited, how to cite authors, and further. The aim of this lesson is to present a step-by-step guide in undertaking a review of literature to facilitate your understanding. In the previous lesson, you learned the definition, importance, and purpose of the literature review. An effective literature review selects the right and specific write-ups that give close information to an identified topic, scrutinize and synthesize content about key themes or issues, cites properly authors of information gathered, identify similarities and differences between chosen literatures, and a lot more. Selecting, citing, and synthesizing related literature needs a thorough development of skills in searching, reading, paraphrasing, writing, and even creating your own page of an article after reviewing a whole bunch of related sources. There are questions or several questions to guide a researcher or students in this endeavor of selecting, citing, and synthesizing related literature. Number one, what is your prior knowledge about your research topic? Number two, what do you have to critically say about your prior knowledge on the topic? Number three, what do you want to know more about your topic? Number four, did anyone do a similar research as yours? Number five, what does your research have that other researchers do not? Number six, who are these authors who have works which has more or less same ideas as yours? Exposed to a wide source of facts and conditioned by a limited time frame during the conduct of study, it is necessary that you have a guided approach in reading or reviewing various literature works that are related to your research topic. Here are some points to consider in an effective literature review. Step 1. Search for the literature. There are so many sources of information available, such as the internet, books, peer-reviewed articles in journals, publication, unpublished works like theses and dissertations, conference proceedings, books, leaflets, posters, blogs, and other library materials offline and online. Some websites might give you valuable information such as Wikipedia, Facebook, Twitter, and the likes, but they are not as dependable as other sources of knowledge since it can be edited and considered not a scholarly article. Therefore, there is a need to carefully evaluate online sources as to accuracy and veracity of information. Furthermore, the following are the key points in searching literature. Keep in mind, number one, in gathering sources, have focus of a clearly indicated scope and purpose of the review. Number two, isolate and center your research on key themes or issues related to your own research interest. Number three, choose articles which are closely related to your research interest. Choose studies conducted by experts and authorities in that same field of knowledge with your study. And lastly, number five, peer-reviewed materials are much preferable than general sources of ideas. Step 2 in considering an effective literature review: reading and citing source of material. In reviewing related literature, you come up with ideas borrowed from someone else. Therefore, it is but polite, honesty, and courtesy to learn to acknowledge other people's intellectual rights and to avoid plagiarism. The question is, how can we avoid plagiarism? Number one, acknowledgement. Acknowledge authors, acknowledge ideas, because it identifies individuals who have contributed to the making of the manuscript written at the start of the paper. Number two, you have to write references or bibliography. This is a whole list of literary materials including all books, journal, theses, and dissertations along with other sources mentioned. References are arranged alphabetically in some papers or in order of sequence as it comes out in the paper. This holds the summary of the information of all of your sources. Information needed in making the references involves the following. Number one, author's name, date of the publication of the source, page number where you found the information, publisher, place of publishing, volume, edition, and other relevant information like date of access in an online article. Step 3. Creating or synthesizing your review of related literature. Developing your review of related literature by gathering ideas from other researches can be done by some patterns or techniques like paraphrasing, quoting, and summarizing it. In doing so, you may either change the arrangement of ideas, structures of language by using synonyms, changing format of words by comparison or contrast, chronological order, passive and active voice sentences, inductive and deductive order, or by fusing opinions with the author's ideas. In quoting, a part of an author's words are repeated in writing, but the page number of copied text should be written. Ideas must be essential and quoted judiciously, meaning with full understanding. Summarizing is a shortened version of the original text expressed in your own language, picking only the most important details of the text, while paraphrasing, on the other hand, permits you to explain the idea in your own words. Lesson number 3, ethical standards in writing. The ethical standards of research establish the values and expectation of a research so that information generated is written accurately and appropriately in accordance to the highest moral principles of research. These ethical standards are governed by core values of integrity, confidentiality, anonymity, and privacy through informed consent. These also include voluntary participation, beneficence, justice, and rights to review. It is important to adhere to ethical principles in order to protect the dignity, rights, and welfare of research participants. These principles are honesty, integrity, trustworthiness, openness, carefulness, respect for intellectual property, and social and legal responsibility. Now, this lesson introduces you to the ethical standards of research before, during, and after the conduct of study, conflicts that might arise while carrying out the research, and possible solution to address it. In the previous lessons, you learned the different manners and styles of referencing or giving credit to owners of ideas borrowed within the span of research. Such referencing acts will make your study reliable and acceptable in the research community once evaluated by an ethics review committee, which sets out the standards for research in each forum or platform where you share and present your study. This part will also give you an idea about the researcher's responsibilities towards participants or respondents, common difficulties in the conduct of research, possible solutions to answer it or minimize risks, conflicting values, and other ethical issues that might engulf the research process. During the course of the conduct of research, common difficulties may arise that will greatly affect the result of your research. As a researcher, one must be adept enough to foresee possible challenges to your research so that it will be resolved sooner. But what are the challenges that a researcher or a student of research may encounter? Number one, unavailability of respondents. Number two, non cooperation or refusal of respondents to answer questions. Number three, failure of respondents to remember data or give honest responses. Number four, delayed or failure in returning questionnaires with responses. Number five, incomplete documents and records. Number six, unscientific data. Number seven, no local data are available. Number eight, lacking instruments. Number nine, communication problems. Number 10, funds are tight. These are the challenges and difficulties or issues that a researcher, as student of research, may encounter. But in every problem, there is a simple and plausible solution. Now, here are some tips to minimize problems in conducting research. Number one, ensure available funds and budget for study to be conducted. Number two, team members should know their assigned tasks well. Identify respondents ahead of time and maintain a list of contact lines and addresses to easily follow them up. Number four, draw a clear and reliable timeline of activities. Number five, reproduce copies of essential documents always. Number six, ask for permits always before conducting any activity. Number seven, conduct ocular inspection of research or sampling site ahead of time. Eight, always send emails, communication, and appointments beforehand. Number nine, have a clear written engagement with all participating persons, agencies, and areas. Number 10, bear in mind the objectives of the study and be flexible in adjusting to present conditions when necessary. Now, scientific misconduct might arise when ethical standards are not followed, such as the following: plagiarism, fabrication of data, falsification of data, non publication of data. Now, let's go on through that one by one. Plagiarism. This refers to the fraudulent acts that entail claiming another person's ideas, work, or publication violating intellectual property rights by stealing and dishonesty. This usually happens in scientific publications. Number two, fabrication of data. It involves producing data without an actual experimentation or altering data in recording with the intent to fit them to desired results. Number three, falsification of data. In contrast with fabrication and falsification, this involves choosing not to include data because they do not conform to the well established body of knowledge or are unsupportive of the research hypothesis. Only the results that do not reject the hypothesis are reported and published. To avoid such encounters and to ensure ethical standards are followed, ethics review committees usually require research studies to undergo review proceedings by submission of pertinent documents that will verify the truthfulness of data, information, and paper presented. For example, you need to have a checklist for adult sponsors, which includes parents' consent and advisors' consent. Student checklist, which all learners will tell information and consent and ensure student safely. Human participants form, which provides information for description, recruitment, protection of policy or privacy, and informed consent processes. For specific researchers, research institution and qualified scientists, hazardous biological agents form and hazardous chemical activities form. Number five, research plan, which discusses in summary the rationale, hypotheses, methods,
Risk and data, data analysis and reference or bibliography. Risk assessment form, which evaluate the extent of hazard posed by the conduct of research. It includes assessing safety of respondents or sampling locale or in even of scientific studies. The biosafety hazards like methods of disposing chemical and biological agents, drug dosages, and delicate instrument use. Number 7, research abstract. This is not more than 250 words that clearly, concisely state the purpose, procedures, and data collected and conclusions of the research. Number 8, lastly, research logbook will start and end dates, pictures, documentations, notes during the course of research that shows detailed and accurate processes.